The chamber of 1,000 suns fell quiet as the last light of the star furnaces dim. Even the void seemed to lean in. The elder rose, its body was all beyond language. Bone turned to crystal, eyes like collapsed galaxy eyes. Voice carried by machines that had learned to breathe for the dead. The banners of 100 empires ripple in the artificial gravity. The United Galactic Council Hall, orbiting the dead world of Karos Prime. The delegates watched with thin smiles and folded arms. They had come for ceremony. An elder spoke. Fear. Before your species learned to shape fire, mine learned to bury worlds. A ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Chainless mandibles clicked, liquid eyes narrow, and feather crest fluttered and played bored, and the elder's gaze did not waver. I have seen empires blown burn. I have seen stars strangled in their own light, and now, I warn you of the quietest danger your galaxy has ever known. A tall envoy rose, plated in mirrored armor. You speak of the humans. Louder followed the word, soft missive, the soft-skinned bipums, the wums who trade poems and treaties for trust. The elder inclined its head west. Them and another delegate hissed with mirth that they are to quarrel among themselves. They boast stronger fleets. They beg for borders to be respected. They are small daughter's voice dipping, and the elder machines that carried it groaned. They are patient, quieted. The chamber quieted, not in fear, but in curiosity. For 3 centuries, the eldest humanity crossed your stars with open hands. They mapped your routes. They healed your wounded. They taught your young how to count the pulses of a dying sun. They asked for nothing but space to breathe. A delegate from the core clan sneered, and we gave them crumbs, because crumbs were enough. The elder's eyes dimmed as if mourning. You mistook mercy for weakness. You mistook silence for surrender. The council erupted in derision. An old one, a serpentine matriarch, coiled forward. Your fear is fossilized. Humanity's fleets are laughable. Their weapons are crude. Their worlds fracture under their own politics. The elder raised a trembling hand. You measure power by the thunder of cannons. Humanity measures power by what they refuse to become. The lights of the chamber flickered. Once, the elder continued, my people were merciful. We welcomed neighbors. We believed gratitude was eternal. The elder's voice cracked, not with age, but with memory. Our neighbors learned our paths. They learned our defenses. They learned that we would hesitate to strike first. Silence crept in slow and cold. They burned our cradle worlds while our diplomats were still begging for peace. The council shifted, the ladder thin. And when we finally rose, the elder whispered, the galaxy called us monsters down. A young envoy barked a nervous laugh. You project your ancient sins onto these humans. They have done nothing. The elder's eyes locked onto the envoy. Not yet. Centuries passed in a breath. Humanity remained quiet. They signed treaties that were broken. They accepted borders that shrank. They watched their colonies taxed in a hunger by empires that smiled while they starved. They buried ships lost in disputed space. They mourned ambassadors who never returned from negotiations, and still they did not strike. The galaxy learned to lean on them. Human freighters carried the council's luxuries. Human engineers repaired alien war engines. Human medics stitched together soldiers who would one day be sent to threaten human worlds. They will never fight back, the council said. The R2 general said. They are useful, the empire said. Then came the betrayal. The council, fearing humanity's growing influence among the frontier worlds, signed a secret decree. Human trade lanes were seized. Human colonies under protective occupation. Human defense fleets were disarmed under the promises of security. And when humanity approached, the council voted sanctions, blockades, a declaration that humanity was destabilizing force be contained. The first human war without a shot fired, the elders warning it cold across the stars, ignored archive forgotten. Humanity went silent, not rage. With resolve, across the scattered worlds, alarms did not sound. Prayers did not wail. There were no speeches broadcast to the galley. A message sent to every human system in every language they had ever learned to beg. We will not burn and hattered. We will remember. The galaxy felt nothing at first. Then supply routes failed. The hyperlanes collapsed in impossible patterns. War fleets found their navigation blind, their engines unresponsive, their weapons systems written by ghosts, code that spoke in human syntax. Outposts woke to find their stars dimmed, not destroying, but gently caged by machines that drank radiation and left dark taste behind. No civilian worlds were touched, no hospitals were bombed, no refugee ships were fired upon. Only military assets vanished. Only war economies suffocated, built on exploitation, found their foundations gone. When the council panicked, this is terrorism. One cried, this is genocide by starvation. Another screamed. The elders' final words were replayed from forgotten archives. They will not seek revenge through cruelty. They will seek justice through inevitability. Human fleets emerged from shadow corridors of space the galaxy did not know existed, not vast, not monstrous. Precise, they did not conquer worlds. They liberated trade routes. They dismantled occupation forces and left medics behind for the wounded. They exposed centuries of counter-upsal corruption and broadcast no firewall could silence. The galaxy watched its tyrants fall one by one, not to firestorms, but to the quiet removal of their power. A counselor wept on the floor of the chamber. We underestimated them, it whispered. In the weak, we elder now fading answered no. You thought mercy was permanent. No. The final human transmission reached every star system, every throne world, every council hall. We learned your languages. We learned your systems, we learned your laws, and we believed you would become better. When you chose not to, we became something else. The Elder's form crumbled into light, and now its last echo murmuring, the galaxy will learn what it means when the merciful decide they will no longer carry your sins for you. The chamber of 1,000 suns went dark, not in destruction. In understanding, humanity had never been weak. They had been merciful. And mercy, once withdrawn, is not cruelty, and is the end of your lies. The ancient chamber of the United Galactic Council trembled as the Elder rose, its shadow stretching across clations carved into living stone. Before your species learned to command the stars, the Elder said, voice like the echo of dead galaxies. Humanity learned to survive extinction, but the Council loud hissed one delegate, soft flesh, short lives, divided mind, jails, many eyes dimmed with sorrow. You mistake gentleness for weakness, for weakness, mistake patience for fear, but for centuries... Humanity walked the galaxy in silence. They traded knowledge for peace. They hailed alien worlds scarred by ancient wars. They accepted borders that shrank, treaties that broke, and insults wrapped in diplomacy. The Council grew bold. When colonies were seized in the name of protection, trade routes were choked by sanctions, ambassadors vanished into polite prisons of light. Still, humanity did not strike until the betrayal came. The United Galactic Council signed a decree in shadow, declaring humanity a threat to galactic order. Fleets moved, orbits tightened around human worlds. The galaxy waited to see humans break. Humanity went quiet, not with screams, with purpose. Stars dimmed along occupied routes as human machines drank the light from war engines. Hyperlanes twisted. Maps turned to lies, and armadas found their weapons sleep in their hands. No cities burned. Only civilians were hunted. Only the machinery of oppression fell apart piece by piece. The Count's revenge. They cry a guide. The Elder's warning, confer God and Argos. They will not answer betrayal with cruelty. They will answer with justice that cannot be escaped. Human fleets emerged from shadows the galaxy did not know existed. They cut chains from occupied worlds. They dismantled tyrants' fleets and left medics for the wounded. The empires that fed on fear collapsed without their teeth. The Council chamber fell into silence as truth finally arrived. Humanity's final message crossed every star. We were never weak. We were merciful. You mistook mercy for surrender. And now you will learn the difference. The Elder faded into starlight. Its last words burned in the memory of the galaxy. One mercy ends. Justice begins. The United Galactic Council chamber rang with cold laughter. They are weak. One counselor said, tapping claws against the throne of living metal. Insignificant, another added, eyes glowing with contempt. Short-lived creatures pretending to belong among empires of eternity. The ancient Elder rose, its presence bending the light around it. You mock what you do not understand, the Elder warned. Humanity is not weak, they are restrained. The Council dismissed the words with waving tendrils and curling mandibles. For centuries they said humans have bowed. They sign our treaties. They accept our borders. They beg for protection. If they had strength, and when Ashona, the Elder's voice carried the weight of collapsed civilizations. They did show it. You simply chose not to see. Humanity moved through the galaxy like a shadow that refused to bite. They endured broken promises. They endured stolen worlds. They endured fleets that hovered over their skies in the name of peace. The Council grew arrogant. Human ships were taxed into ruin. Human colonies were placed under oversight. Human defense fleets were ordered to stand down again. Still, the Council laughed. Whenever rise, they said, they are too divided, too small. Then humanity stopped asking. Trade lanes went dark. War fleets lost their sight. Occupation forces found their commands written by invisible hands. No cities burned. No children screamed. And only the engines of oppression failed everywhere at once. The Council's laughter died in their throats. This is impossible, they whispered. They were insignificant. The Elder's final warning echoed through the chamber. You called them weak because they chose mercy. You called them insignificant because they did not need to prove themselves. The last human transmission reached every throne world in the galaxy. We were patient while you learned our kindness. We were silent while you learned our limits. And now you will learn what happens when the weak you mock decide to stop being merciful. And the Elder's voice faltered and the chamber dissolved into memory. Flashbacks flooded the minds of the Council. They saw now human convoys crossing hostile stars unarmed, carrying food to alien worlds that had known only famine. Those same worlds later voted to tax human trade for stability. They saw human engineers rebuilding shattered ring cities, working without guards, without weapons, while Council fleets quietly copied their technology and claimed it as galactic property. They saw human soldiers ordered to stand down as their colonies were stripped of resources for the greater good. Children watched alien banners rise over human skies while Dillman spoke of patience and peace. Centuries passed in those visions. Every era showed the same pattern. When humans mined the dead worlds no one else wanted, unanswerable space, and then were charged tolls to use them. Humans blended into their forays, praised as brave allies, and discarded as expendable losses of flesh. A human ambassador kneeling, begging for arbitration as a council tribunal ruled against humanity of time 1 century. Another flash, human colony starved by sanctions while delegates toasted balance. Another, a human fleet disarmed by treaty. And moments before pirates, quietly, funnily descended by councilmen, defended worlds. Through it all, humanity endured, no rebellion, no galactic war cries, only clenched fists and written records. The Elder's voice would return heavy with judgment. They learned your systems, they memorized your laws, and they committed every betrayal you call policy. The council shifted uncomfortably as the final flashback burned into their minds. Humans centuries apart saying the same words to their children, yet not first. We survived and ended. The chamber was silent. We gave up one last time, softer now, colder. You did not conquer humanity. You trained them. You taught them how exploitation works. You taught them how power hides behind legality. You taught them in signal pulse to cross the stars, calm and unshackled here. We remember every century, we remember every theft, we remember every vote. And now history has finished teaching us. The Elder lifted a trembling hand, and the void itself seemed to peel back. What you called silence, it said, was preparation. The council's forced into another vision, deeper in the memory, cold in truth. They saw humanity's hidden centuries, not war councils. Archives, vast human libraries drifting between stars, recording every treaty broken by the council, every sanction disguised as law, every colony protected into poverty. Human minds studied alien economies the way surgeons study organs, learning where pressure could stop a heart without spilling blood. And they saw human cartographers mapping forgot hyperlanes, too unstable for war fleets but safe for patient travelers. They built pass-through storms of gravity, teaching their ships to move where empires believed nothing could live. They saw generations of humans trained not for rage but for restraint. Children learned diplomacy alongside strategy. Soldiers taught to stand down, to endure humiliation, to remember names of counselors who signed their suffering into law. The council gasped as the vision sharpened. Humanity was not weak. They were waiting for the moment the galaxy would cross a line that he had drawn centuries out, quietly, painfully, in their private record. If they take our worlds, we endure. If they take our trade, we adapt. If they take our people, the vision froze on that final line. And the Elder's voice cut through the silence like a blade. They planned not for victory, they planned for inevitability. The chamber lights flickered as more truth surfaced. Human networks had long ago threaded themselves through council infrastructure, not as viruses, but as managed systems, and quietly fixing alien war machines, quietly learning their weaknesses. Human corporations owned the supply chains of entire fleets. Human medics knew the biology of every warrior caste. Human navigators understood the council's hyperlanes better than the council itself. The Elder lowered his hand. You called them patient because you saw only their restraint. You never asked what patience becomes when it reaches its limit. To the final human message whispered across the stars, not in anger, but in certainty. We waited because we hoped you would change. We planned because we knew you might not. This is not revenge. This is the end of your advantage. The council understood at last. Humanity's silence had never been fear. It had been strategy. The vision darkened. The Elder's voice became a whisper that carried like thunder. He was a line and said, humanity drew it in silence. And you stepped over it in celebration, and the council was forced to witness the moment that ended centuries of restraint. A major galactic summit convened above the neutral world of Kairos on the banner of peace. Human diplomats arrived unarmed and carrying renewal accords meant to end the exploitation of their frontier systems. For the first time in centuries, humanity believed the council had listened. The treaty hall glowed with false warmth. Then the betrayal unfolded. And council security fleets deployed in the guise of protection, locked on a human colony, defense grids across 3 sectors at once. Trade lanes were seized mid-negotiation. Human ambassadors were detained for their safety. A secret protocol activated, and humanity was formally reclassified as a destabilizing species. Their territories placed under permanent galactic administration. The council delegates applauded the vote. Order has been restored. One proclaimed, the humans will thank us for saving them from themselves, and others sneered. In the vision, human worlds watched alien banners rise over their skies. Orbital platforms cut power to cities. Supply convoys were turned back at gunpoint. Marines were declared wards of the council, protected, governed, owned. The Elder's voice trembled with ancient fury. You did not merely exploit them. You erased their right to stand. The vision cut to a human command arm buried in deep space. No pad, no shouting. Only quiet confirmation signals lighting up across star systems. One line appeared on every human screen as Shaw and Thart crossed. The counselors felt the weight of it settle into their bones. For centuries, humanity had endured theft, humiliation, and containment. They had planned for betrayal, but they had hoped it would never come to this. The Elder's eyes dimmed like dying suns. Thab voted, said, was the moment that Marshall decided mercy had failed. Across the galaxy, human fleets powered on in unison, not in fury, but in certainty. The final human transition reached every council chamber. We asked for space to live. You voted to decide our right to exist. From this moment forward, we will no longer wait for your permission to survive. The Elder spread its crystalline limbs, and the council was shown what had been hidden in the quiet centuries. You believed humanity was behind you, it said softly. In truth, they were beside you and beneath you, the vision peeling back the galaxy's skin. When they saw human shipyards concealed within the shadows of dead stars, forging vessels that bent light around their hulls. Fleets that did not announce themselves with fire, but with absence, dry folded space instead of tearing it. Slipping through regions the council had declared impassable. They saw human machines that drank energy from hostile weapons, turning the fury of war fleets into silence. Human networks were targeting arrays mid-volley, not by hacking from afar, but by protocols humanity had been invited to install centuries earlier as men in support. Beyond the alliances were revealed, and the Council's maps, entire civilizations moved in quiet formation with humanity. Species the Council had crushed in obscurity. Refugee cultures written off as extinct. Border world syndicates who had fed them when the Council starved in obedience. Hidden armadas emerged from nebula the Council had abandoned as cursed. Supply lines flared into existence along routes only human explorers had charted. Old enemies of the Council opened their vaults and then their fleets for a conquest for reckoning. A councilor choked, voice breaking, they were alone, and whispered, they had to be alone. The Elder's reply was mercilessly calm. No, they were kind, and kindness is remembered by those who survive your indifference. The vision shot of human voice centuries earlier, offering aid to broken species no one else would touch. Not treaties of dominatorships, not oaths of loyalty, mutual defense written in shared suffering. And the El lowered its gaze. You ignored them because they did not rule through fear. You never asked who stood with them when fear no longer worked. The final human broadcast rippled through the stars, carried by voices not only human. We were never alone. We simply did not need to announce our friends. You taught the galaxy to fear you. We taught the forgotten to trust us. Now the galaxy will learn which of those lasts longer.